Developing right now on Morning News Now, sweat white and blue. The 4th of July weekend shaping up to be one of the hottest ever. This morning, tens of millions of people across the East Coast bracing for dangerous triple-digit temperatures on track to break records in several major cities. The summer sizzle paired with the threat of severe storms just as people head out of town for the holiday. We're tracking the conditions, the warnings, and what you can expect where you're going. Also this morning, let freedom ring. From the Liberty Bell to the Statue of Liberty, festivities are now underway for America's 250th birthday. President Trump preparing to address Americans from the National Mall in Washington, where hundreds of thousands of people are expected to watch what's being called the world's largest fireworks display. We'll have more on the celebrations. Plus, gone bad, one state taking a big step toward cutting down on food waste. We're going to tell you about new labeling law in California and the push now to make it part of a wider effort. And baby, just say yes. That's right, Swifties. The 4th of July isn't the only celebration happening this weekend. Hundreds of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's closest friends and family now descending upon the world's most famous arena to celebrate the next era of their love story. We will have all the excitement. Good morning. Good to have you with us. I'm Joe Fryer. Savannah is off today. Plenty to celebrate this weekend, but you're going to have to do it amid those record-breaking temperatures that are baking most of the country. Right now, more than 150 million people are waking up under heat advisories. It's really bad in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic, where temperatures in some spots are almost 20 degrees higher than normal. This sweltering heat is prompting officials to issue warnings. Do not spend too much time outside. Of course, a lot of folks are leaving their homes. A record-setting 72 million Americans are expected to travel this holiday season. Most will be driving, which will cause major headaches on the highways as temperatures soar. Let's hope the AC in your car is working. We're covering this story from all angles, including the hot forecast and how to navigate those travel headaches. We're going to start with NBC's Sam Brock in New York City with the latest on the heat wave. Sam, good morning.
Joe, good morning. Excitement is in the air here in New York City, and so is a whole lot of humidity. The timing could hardly be any worse on this. You have millions of Americans that are getting ready to spend basically all day outside tomorrow, celebrating in epic fashion America's 250th birthday, while at the same time we're pushing heat indexes of 110 or higher in some cities. I'm in Brooklyn Bridge Park right now. Over my shoulder, you see the bridge. There's going to be fireworks launched from there, and on barges here on the East River, you'll have tall ships sailing right through the East River, and on the other side of the city, the Hudson River too. And at the same time, people are just going to be trying to balance being outside with not putting themselves at risk, because we recorded all kinds of historic numbers just yesterday. You're talking about Williamsport, Pennsylvania, a new record of 100 degrees, Washington, D.C., 102, Newark, New Jersey, Joe, 104 degrees. And we also have certainly seen that many cities are responding by declaring heat emergencies, right? That's happened in New York, Washington, D.C., Philly, Boston, all of these areas right now just smothered in a blanket of heat. We are also seeing the effects when it comes to power outages. Con Ed, which is the main utility provider here in New York City, just posted shortly ago that they've had to restore somewhere in the neighborhood of 60,000 customers' power because of this heat wave. Now, so far, we haven't reached critical mass on that, but Mayor Mamdani here in New York calling on residents to keep their thermostats at 78 degrees. And Con Ed has had to reduce the voltage in areas like the Bronx and Westchester County, which is just north of New York. So it is potentially a serious situation if the temperature and thermometer dials up even more. It's so hot here in the city, Joe, that one woman even stuck her foot onto the sidewalk in asphalt, pulled it away, and you saw her shoe print in the sidewalk, just to give you sort of a window into how insane it is here. I would also add that, just to throw in another mix, another angle to all of this, you had shark sightings on Long Island. So people that were trying to escape New York to just get out there, get onto the shoreline, enjoy some nice cooler water, they saw sharks, and in Hempstead, had to be pulled off of the beach. Just some of the many things that people are trying to balance here. Obviously, there's a ton of anticipation for what we're about to witness, but it has to be done with a level of caution because the consequences could certainly be dangerous, and everyone is well aware of that. Joe, let me send it back to you.
All right, sweat or shark? Those are your options, Sam. Thank you. Let's get a closer look at just how high those temps will reach, at the risk of storms for those looking to the skies for the fireworks. Angie Lastman joins us now with the forecast. Angie, good morning.
Joe, see, none of the above. I don't want the sweat. I don't want the sharks. I would like another option. Work on that for me. You've got that right. We've got a whole lot of heat to talk about. 151 million people under these heat alerts. It's been like this for days and days, this amount of heat alerts, with those heat index values being a real concern, upwards of 100 to 110, even close to 115 in some spots. And we've got dozens of records once again potentially breaking as we get through the day today and even into the weekend. New York City, one of those spots where we're expecting 102 degrees for your temperature today. If we can get to 103, that would be a record for this date. Either way, it's going to feel like 110 at the warmest part of the day. 105 for the heat index in Pittsburgh. Roanoke ends up at 103, feeling like 105 in Columbia. Nashville, your actual temperature 100, but you will feel like 113. So still the dangerous heat kind of stuck across much of the east. As we get into tomorrow, getting the weekend underway, 98 in New York City, feeling like 104. Norfolk, 101, feeling like 113. We don't see any relief, unfortunately, as we get into Saturday, and some spots will start to get a little bit of relief by the time we get into the end of the weekend. So Chicago, you're down to the low 80s by Sunday, Monday, and into Tuesday, you get back up to the mid 80s. It's the 90s for Sunday in Washington, D.C., but notice that Tuesday temperature, 83. That's going to feel really nice for folks there. Unfortunately, if you live in Raleigh, you're into the triple digits through at least the beginning of this upcoming work week, and then 97 degrees. That's all you're going to get for a bit of a cool down on Tuesday. That's not saying much. And when you look at those heat index values, you can see even when we do get a little bit of relief in some of these spots, we're still fairly warm and uncomfortable through at least the weekend and into early next week. Also, we've been talking about this for days where we've got all that heat, and that's also causing some problems with trapping all that pollution at the surface. So you're going to want to limit your outdoor activities if you live in places like New York, Nantucket, Atlantic City, Washington, D.C. If you have breathing issues, we've got the air quality alerts up. Those are going to stay with us likely through the next couple of days. And to add to all of that, we've also got the storm chances. This is something that could interrupt some maybe fireworks plans. We've got this afternoon and evening some stronger thunderstorms stretching from the plains across the Great Lakes and out to the northeast, mainly looking at wind gusts and hail. The tornado risk is on the low end. But as we get into tomorrow, again, centered across parts of the mid-Atlantic and the northeast, another chance for some stronger storms. We've just got all the ingredients there to kind of spark those. So Pittsburgh to New York City, Philadelphia, Ocean City, New Jersey, all of those locations going to watch for the potential for some stronger storms tomorrow. And then as we look at your Sunday, that slight risk kind of stays with us across some of those same regions. So dodging the thunderstorms is going to be something you'll have to do while also trying to cool down. And when it comes to travel impacts today, I think across parts of the plains to the northeast, of course, those thunderstorms could impact you. We'll watch some of those downpours across Florida, but places like New York City, Minneapolis, Chicago, Joe, those are the locations that you'll likely see some delays if you are heading to the airport or going to be on the roadways.
All right, Angie, thank you so much. Now, despite the heat, a record-breaking number of Americans are expected to hit the roads and skies this holiday weekend. AAA says more than 72 million people will travel more than 50 miles from their home between now and Sunday. Of course, gas prices are higher than they were this time last year, so are airline tickets, so many are choosing to drive and stay a little closer to home. NBC News national correspondent Aaron Gilchrist is in Atlanta. There's more on what travelers can expect. Aaron, good morning.
Today is the federal observance of the Independence Day holiday, and that means millions of people do have this day off, and that could help folks get a head start on the long weekend travel. AAA says 72 million Americans are expected to travel this holiday weekend. That includes about 61 million people moving by car. So, a few things you may need to know. On average, right now, a gallon of gasoline is costing about 70 cents more than it did this time last year, but it is down from the peak back in May, and that's a bit of good news for you. As far as traffic goes, well, AAA warns that roads are going to start hitting that peak congestion that we hear about around noon today, and that'll go through about dinner time. So if you're able to leave before 11 o'clock this morning, that could help you save a little bit of time. And you don't want to forget to have water, to Have that emergency kit in the car with you, especially with this extreme heat that we're dealing with in so many places. Now, as for more than 6 million people who are flying this holiday, prices for tickets, we know they're up about 5%. And according to the FAA, more than 51,000 planes are expected to be in the air today. We've already seen some complications. We know that JFK had a temporary ground stop in place yesterday afternoon. And really, that was just because of the extremely high volume they had to deal with at that airport. So you want to make sure you pack your patience before you head out the door to celebrate America's birthday. Back to you.
All right. Aaron, thank you so much for tips on how to travel safely this weekend. Let's bring in AAA spokesperson Aixa Diaz. Good to have you with us. Happy holiday. So you're projecting in AAA roughly what, 85% of people who are going to be traveling are going to be driving. What are the biggest challenges that travelers are likely to face on the road? What's the best way to prepare?
And Joe, most people drive because it's the most convenient and most economical in many cases. Even though gas prices have been high, it's still cheaper to just fill up once or twice along your road trip than have to buy multiple plane tickets if you've got a family of about 3 or 4 or 5 people. So most people are driving, but they're going to encounter a lot of traffic. We're projecting 61.4 million people will be traveling by car this holiday weekend. And that also means you want to leave early, but also keep this heat in mind, because we've been talking about this extreme heat, and it can cause a lot on your vehicle. It wreaks havoc on your tires, on your battery. So before you leave, check that tire pressure, check your battery status, make sure that that's okay, and then pack plenty of waters, have a cooler with ice, because if you get stuck on the interstate, and let's say there is some sort of crash on the highway that stops traffic, you might want to turn off your vehicle at some point if you're stuck in standstill traffic. So maybe having a little portable fan as well, but also stay hydrated.
Yeah, keep in mind, just in case the worst case scenario happens while you're in that car and driving in this heat. Aaron mentioned that the fuel costs rising from the war with Iran, not as high as they were earlier this year, but still pretty high, which is why gas prices are on the minds of many travelers. Any tips on how people can maybe save at least a little bit of money at the pump?
Yeah, so signing up for fuel rewards and loyalty programs at gas stations is really smart. AAA partners with Shell Fuel Rewards, and you save at least 5 cents a gallon, and that adds up over time. So make sure you do that, but also be mindful of how much stuff is in your vehicle. The heavier your vehicle is and the more load you put in the trunk, the more your car has to work. Also keep in mind that, fuel efficiency peaks at around 50 miles per hour, so speeding is not going to really help you at all. But ultimately, remember that gas has come down. We're about 50 cents cheaper than we were just about a month ago. And even though we are higher than last year, they have been coming down. And so drivers are getting a bit of a relief right now at the pump.
If you could leave travelers with just one important safety reminder this 4th of July weekend, what would it be?
I would say prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. And that means that you pack extra things that you may never need, but you want to have just in case. And especially for people who are flying as well, keep in mind, delays and cancellations are a possibility with the heat, with the volume, and with storms. So have extra snacks with you, have maybe a portable fan with you. That way, if you're stuck on the tarmac because you can't take off, you'll be comfortable.
I know a lot of people did leave yesterday. I think that was supposed to be the biggest travel day, but clearly many people are today because they are off. For those who are driving, are there often good tips as to when is the best time to leave? When are the times you should definitely avoid? And same when people are maybe starting to already think of that return trip. What's some of the best advice there?
Well, certainly returning the earlier the better on Sunday, especially for people who stayed up late on Saturday. They don't want to get up early on Sunday. You want to be the one who gets up early on Sunday and hits the road earlier, because as soon as lunchtime hits on July 5th, those roads are going to be packed. And also, I typically tell people to travel on the holiday itself, like Thanksgiving. It's always lighter on the roads. But July 4th is different. It's an all-day event. You've got people driving all day, driving to parades, the pool, the beach, fireworks. So remember, traffic's going to be heavy all day on Saturday as well. But the earlier the better. Typically morning hours are better than afternoon hours. And if you're a night driver and you don't mind driving at night, then usually around 8 p.m. is when things start to lighten up a bit.
Plus, morning and night, it's a little bit cooler out, which helps right now with these temperatures. Aixa, good to have you with us. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Americans coast to coast are getting ready to celebrate the nation's 250th birthday. A number of events, big and small, are planned throughout the weekend to mark the milestone. President Trump will oversee events from the National Mall, while those jaw-dropping tall ships are set to grace the eastern seaboard. NBC News correspondent Alice Barr joins us from Washington. More on all the festivities. Alice, good morning. Happy 4th of July Eve.
And the same to you, Joe. A lot of stirring on this holiday eve because Americans are not missing a chance to celebrate this 250th anniversary 4th of July. But officials are urging everyone to stay hydrated and weather aware with scorching heat blanketing much of the country. You can see it from the skies across America, mowed into a lawn in North Carolina.
250 thong rolls around one time.
Formed in a human Liberty Bell in Philadelphia, Americans making their mark on 250 years of history. But it's what we'll see in the skies that'll really steal the show. Boston giving an early peek as New York is welcoming majestic tall ships while working out its finishing fireworks touches.
Nonstop action and beautiful art in the sky.
And in Washington, D.C., final preparations for what's billed as the world's largest fireworks display.
At least 100 times more than an average 4th of July display that you would see.
President Trump is set to speak on the National Mall for the Freedom 250 Salute to America.
Right now, you have the hottest country anywhere in the world, and we do.
The event's start time now delayed from 1 to 5 p.m. because of the triple-digit heat. The Capitol 4th concert is supposed to be tonight. Authorities, though, closed a rehearsal to the public last night and said they're going to make a decision this morning about whether the full concert can safely happen tonight in this extreme heat, Joe.
Yeah, and Alice, we heard a brief comment from President Trump there, but what else is he saying about the event and just what we can expect this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, he's saying this is going to be the biggest kind of celebration of its kind. We know that they're going for a Guinness World Record with the fireworks display with more than 850,000 pyrotechnics set to be launched during the 40-minute show. The president has also said he's going to give a long speech. That's supposed to start at 9:45 and the fireworks show at 10:30. Before that, there's the Great American State Fair that's open. There are flyovers starting at 1:15, and there are a lot of reminders for anybody that's going to be out there to use the hydration stations, to get some breaks in the shade, and to just be smart while you're out in this hot conditions.
There will be no shortage of fireworks and big displays happening throughout this weekend. All right, Alice, thank you so much. The office of longtime Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell says he remains in the hospital, and now we're learning more details about that recent medical episode at his home. NBC's Gary Grumbach joins us with the very latest. Gary, good morning. So Senator McConnell's office has not publicly disclosed why the 84-year-old was admitted to the hospital. That happened back on June 14th. Of course, his medical history in recent years is well documented. Walk us through what we do know about the senator's health and just what happened at his home.
Hey there, Joe. So we do know Senator Mitch McConnell was hospitalized on June 14th, and he remains hospitalized today. We also know that on June 14th, there was a call to Mitch McConnell's house in Washington, D.C., because someone was experiencing cardiac arrest, and they received CPR. Now, we do not know if the same person was Mitch McConnell, but McConnell is 84 years old, and he has had a series of medical complications over the past several years, including falls during events in Washington, D.C., several freezing up incidents on camera. He has said he will not seek re-election after his term ends in January, Joe.
All right, Gary, let's get to some other Washington headlines out of D.C. A U.S. Olympian has been indicted in connection with some of the damage that was found at the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool. We know earlier in the spring, the pool underwent this multi-million-dollar rehabilitation project. What more are we learning about this?
Yeah, U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro announcing yesterday that David Hearn, he's an Olympic canoeist, he has been indicted on one count of causing more than $1,000 in damage to the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool. You remember that part of Hearn's arrest was actually caught on camera, and he said to NBC News afterwards that he caused no damage, that he didn't do anything wrong. His attorney said the same thing yesterday. Here's what U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro had to say about the incident.
This was a deliberate act to damage the reflecting pool at the National Mall. Our evidence further shows that the National Park Service employees observed Hearn actually forcefully and violently pulling up and removing the bottom liner with both hands.
Now, there have been several arrests made, but there's been only one person indicted for any kind of damage to the reflecting pool. You'll remember that the White House and President Trump have made several allegations without providing evidence that there was significant damage made to the reflecting pool, including alleging a 250 to 300-foot gash in the reflecting pool. We've tried. We have found no evidence of that gash, and the National Park Service, the Department of Interior, and U.S. Park Police haven't responded to requests for comment on that. Joe?
Gary, while we have you, I want to ask you about a memo that was issued by the FBI. It's related to the investigation of the 2020 presidential election in Georgia. That's a state, if you recall, President Trump lost to Joe Biden. But the president continues to claim without any evidence that the election was rigged. What is the FBI focusing on here?
So the FBI is asking every single one of their field offices around the country, all 56 of them, to assign people to a specific issue in Fulton County, in the Atlanta area of Georgia. This is apparently related to the 2020 election and the FBI's investigation into what happened during the 2020 election. We're talking 250 employees dedicated to this effort. It's really an unprecedented moving of resources into this sort of situation. In January, you'll remember the FBI had executed a search warrant at a Fulton County headquarters, essentially, where all the ballots existed, and they took a lot of the ballots, they took a lot of the ballot images, and they took some of the voter rolls as well. It's unclear exactly what they are looking for here, but they're certainly doing some sort of very serious level of investigating here, Jeff.
6 years after the election. All right, Gary, thank you so much. We're learning more details about this week's sky-high stunt at the Empire State Building here in New York. The couple that captured the country's attention by climbing to the top of the spire appeared in court yesterday. They are facing numerous charges. NBC News correspondent Valerie Castro has more on how they made it past security.
We're learning new details about that alarming security breach. Those two climbers with a jaw-dropping, death-defying stunt at the Empire State Building.
Is he proposing to her?
The couple seen leaving court apparently still wearing the same outfits they scaled the spire in.
It was very cold last night.
Angelina Nicolau and Ivan Kuznetsov now charged with several felonies, including reckless endangerment for trespassing overnight in a restricted area, according to the criminal complaint. Sources telling NBC News investigators are looking into whether the pair may have used a separate tenant entrance to the building to avoid security screening, and whether the pair may have been scouting the building prior and even left some tools in advance of the operation.
We just need to relax now.
At one point, photographers asking them to recreate their kiss more than 1,400 feet in the air.
A kiss, a kiss, a kiss. All right, all right.
Their attorney speaking after their court appearance.
I will say, it's nice to have somebody wearing a black mask doing a message of peace.
But the NYPD says their actions won't go unpunished.
Unacceptable, and there's going to be consequences.
Our thanks to Valerie Castro for that report. The couple faces up to 7 years in prison if convicted on all charges. They are now due back in court in late August. Let's stay here in New York. In case you haven't heard, there is a wedding that is happening. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce officially kicked off their multi-day wedding celebration last night. And ahead of tonight's nuptials, a representative for Swift says the couple donated $26 million to 20 charities across the country. NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Malas has more on the celebrity guests, the family arrivals, and all the wedding buzz.
The wedding festivities for Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce officially kicking off. Black SUVs seen pulling up to New York's Madison Square Garden ahead of what is expected to be their rehearsal dinner at the venue's Emphasis Theater, according to an NYPD memo. Right here behind me is a white tent that has been erected to protect the privacy of guests when they arrive.
How are you feeling today, Miss Kelce?
Photographers catching Kelce's mom after landing in New York. A source at MSG telling NBC News MSG employees are not allowed back on premises until Sunday. Also saying the couple is playing on the venue's name with a garden theme, adding that inside the space has been transformed with drapery and chandeliers hung, and more than 1,000 guests are expected to attend Friday's Big Bash and enjoy performances from artists like Stevie Nicks. Outside, road closures and ramped up security around the arena. For those still skeptical about the impending nuptials, officers were spotted with folders marked Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce wedding.
This is normal for Taylor Swift to have people speculate because she loves keeping her fans on edge. It's part of the thrill. It's part of the fun of being a Swiftie.
Chloe Malas, NBC News.
All right, much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, the football frenzy continues. We're going to have highlights from another wild day of World Cup matches, including one call that's making some fans furious. Up first after the break, Venezuela holding on to hope. The incredible rescue more than a week after those powerful earthquakes. That's next. Welcome back. It has been more than a week now since deadly earthquakes devastated Venezuela, and the death toll stands at more than 2,200 people, with thousands more injured. But even amid the despair, moments of hope do still emerge. Yesterday, rescuers pulled out a 44-year-old man alive from the rubble of a collapsed basement 8 days after the quakes. Let's check in with correspondent Ana Vanessa Herrera, who's been following the earthquakes from the beginning for us. Anna, good morning. We appreciate you joining us again. Let's start with that incredible rescue. How was this man found, and do we know how he's doing now?
We don't have information, Joe, about how he is doing now. Everyone who is being rescued is taken immediately to a hospital nearby, wherever they can find a place for them to get the first aid they need. And that is something that doctors take very seriously. To share the news, the family members we do know are happy about that, about the rescue and this miraculous story. And let me tell you, I went there to La Guaira just minutes after this happened, and everyone was so happy. Everyone was celebrating still, even after he was already taken out of the area. And a lot of people on the ground are just waiting to hear and see those kind of stories more and more. People are just hanging to that hope that others can be found alive, Joe.
Yeah, I'm sure it is offering hope to so many who have been struggling over these last several days. As you've been reporting, the Venezuelan government is facing just an avalanche of criticism over its response, many arguing the government was just too slow to act. The country's acting president now pushing back against those claims. What more can you tell us about that?
Yes, on the ground, that is the only thing you can hear. So there are two things happening when you go to Ground Zero, La Guaira, or even if you see in Caracas, in one of these improvised shelters. So the only thing you hear is that the government acted way too late. I've been talking to rescuers, civilians, family members who were the ones who jumped into the debris to look for their loved ones, and they tell me that the government showed up until 2 or 3 days later, and that even now, military are just guarding the streets and they're controlling traffic, but they are not inside of the fallen buildings looking for people. That is a job that civilians are taking upon themselves. This is something that you hear over and over. But now, in this shelters, lack of a better word, people are saying that the government is also late on taking care of those who survived. They are living in tents. They're living out of the goodness of all the volunteers in Caracas and other states in the country who are giving them food, water, whatever they need. But the government, they say, is nowhere to be found. Joe?
Anna, often after a disaster like this, the world moves on quickly, but we have to remember for Venezuela, the recovery, the rebuilding process will take months and years. So, Anna, what are some of the big challenges that remain right now, more than a week later?
Well, right now, everyone is talking about housing. So that is the huge challenge. What is going to happen to those who survived and lost their houses? Because it's not only the buildings who were absolutely destroyed, but it's also the buildings that are right now impossible to live in. So there is a reconstruction that's going to take, as you said, Joe, a long time. Even more in Venezuela, everything takes time in Venezuela. There is a water shortage, power outlet shortage, and there is a problem with organizational protocol that the government is not taking care of. And that is the immediate problem. But then again, I talked to doctors and they said there's a health problem right now in the making. There's too many people are exposed to so many viruses, and the health system, as we know, is already broken. So they fear this might be the great big challenge just in the immediate future. Joe?
All right, Anna, we appreciate your reporting. Thank you so much, as always. It is a day of mourning for Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, following a deadly new chapter in the war with Russia. Ukrainian authorities say at least 30 people were killed and dozens were injured in a Russian missile and drone attack on Thursday. It's the deadliest to hit Kyiv this year. Ukraine's President Zelensky says 10 people are still missing as rescuers continue to search for survivors. NBC News international correspondent Danielle Hamamdjian joins us now with more on this. So, Danielle, walk us through the scale and scope of this attack and what we're hearing from both the Russians and the Ukrainians about it.
Yeah, good morning, Joe. You're right. A day of mourning declared in the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv after this horrific attack, not just the deadliest Russian assault since the beginning of the year, but possibly one of the biggest since the beginning of the war back in February 2022, with officials describing it as a night of horror. The Ukrainian Air Force says that Russia launched 74 missiles and 496 drones overnight. The situation on the ground now, after a relatively calm night, while there are still rescue operations underway, according to the president, Volodymyr Zelensky, at least 10 people are still missing, on top of, as you mentioned, the 30 people dead, nearly 100 injured. Now, the work of forensic experts in these situations, although tragic and very grim, also very crucial. There are buildings that have not just been destroyed, but have collapsed. And so they are working to identify body parts to ultimately identify the dead. Moscow said this attack was in retaliation for Ukrainian drone strikes on Russia, which have intensified, and they're targeting energy infrastructure, and that has triggered a fuel crisis in Russia. In recent months, Russia has also struggled to advance, and it's also in some cases lost territory, with the Ukrainians increasingly effective not only in their tactics, but their counteroffensive, Joe.
Years into this war, but it's still important to ask where things stand in those stalled peace talks. I know President Zelensky was asked about that and any just recent contacts with the U.S. yesterday. What's he saying?
Yeah, President Zelensky said that a senior defense official in Ukraine met with the U.S. president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. That happened over the past few days. But in-person talks between the Russians and the Ukrainians, that hasn't happened since February, since before the U.S. went to war with Iran. Now, Zelensky said that he was hoping to have a one-on-one with the U.S. president next week in Turkey during the NATO summit there, Joe.
Also, Danielle, we're following developments out of Monaco. An arrest warrant's been issued for a person who's suspected to be behind Monday's parcel bombing. We talked about that earlier this week. Authorities do believe the attack was targeting a Ukrainian-born oligarch. What more can you tell us about this case and just how it might tie to the war?
Quite a few developments here, and it's been a big story here in Europe. It's grabbed a lot of headlines, not just in Europe, but beyond as well. And a big reason for that is because of where it takes place. Monaco, a tax haven, a principality, home to the wealthy, usually associated with yachts and casinos. Well, this week it was associated with the explosion at the entrance of a residential building in Monaco, where the victims of that explosion were 3 people, among them believed to be a Ukrainian oligarch, his partner, and his son. Well, here's the update from the prosecutor, Joe. They believe the suspect, who until now they believed was a man, is actually a woman, a 39-year-old woman who Interpol has just identified as Anastasia Berezovska, who was born in Ukraine. Officials believe she was disguised as a man using a remote control to detonate the bomb. A parcel had been left at the entrance of the building. The suspect, according to authorities, waited for those 3 individuals to come back from dinner nearby. The suspect, they believe, had scouted the area over the the past few days. Her last known residence, they say, is Germany. The car that she used registered in Germany as well. Critically, officials believe she did not act alone here and that there could be accomplices given the complexity of the explosive device. The target of the attack, though not officially named by authorities, is widely being reported as Vadim Yermolov, a very wealthy real estate developer who was born in Ukraine, of Ukrainian origin, but who renounced his Ukrainian citizenship back in 2019. Authorities haven't commented on whether or not they believe this is tied to the war, but given the geopolitical context, given who this man is, what his work what he does for work, it is certainly a line of inquiry that they cannot ignore, Joe.
All right, major update there. Danielle, thank you so much. Let's get some more international headlines. Developing news out of Albania. Protests there turned violent over a project linked to President Trump's son-in-law. NBC News international correspondent Claudio Lavanga joins us from Rome to take us around the world in 60 seconds. Claudio, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. That's right. Authorities in Albania say 12 police officers were injured and 18 protesters were detained after the latest demonstration against plans by Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump to turn that island off the Adriatic coast into a luxury resort turned violent. On Thursday, officers fired tear gas, pepper spray and water cannon at demonstrators outside Parliament in the capital Tirana, and protesters responded by throwing rocks, eggs and plastic bottles. This was the latest in a wave of protests known as the Flamingo Revolution, named after the bird protesters say is threatened by Kushner and Trump's plan. Let's go to France now, where wildfires raged across the south of the country on Thursday, fueled by the recent heat wave. Local authorities say 800 firefighters tried to tackle the biggest blaze that ran over more than 2,000 acres, and in another area, 1,500 people had to be evacuated from 3 campsites. French Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu said nearly 7,000 fires have broken out since the start of the summer, calling the situation in typical French aplomb fairly tense. And let's end this tour of the world in Brazil, where sightings of humpback whales off Rio de Janeiro are becoming more common. Experts say this is thanks to a pause in commercial whaling decided in the 1980s. Enrico Marcovaldi, co-founder of the Humpback Whale Project, said that the whale population jumped from around 2,000 to 35,000 in 40 years. This also led to a boost in demand for whale-watching excursions to spot humpback whales during their annual migration, Joe.
All right, add that to your list of things to do in Rio. Thanks so much, Claudio. Appreciate it. To the World Cup now, where it was another dramatic day of action on the pitch. Yesterday, Portugal defeated Croatia 2-1 to seal their place in the round of 16. Croatia led early in the second half before Cristiano Ronaldo tied it up with a penalty kick. Then, with the game seemingly destined for extra time, Portugal scored in added time to make it 2-1. The chaos, though, only just beginning. Minutes later, Croatia thought they had scored to tie the game again, but the goal was waved off after a lengthy video check by the referee. It was deemed to be offside. The decision sparked fury among some Croatian fans who began hurling bottles on the pitch. Portugal's win sets up a mouth-watering clash with neighbors Spain in the next round. They comfortably sailed through their match against Austria, winning 3-0. Elsewhere, Switzerland beat Algeria 2-0, that country's first World Cup knockout round win since 1938. The Swiss will take on the winners of today's game between Colombia and Ghana. Defending champions Argentina also in action against Cape Verde, while Australia takes on Egypt in the final matches of the round of 32. Coming up, more than just a label change, California now banning those sell-by dates you see at the grocery store. More on the move meant to address the growing problem of food waste. You're watching Morning News Now. Welcome back. California is taking a major step toward cutting down on food waste. Earlier this week, the state's new law took effect, banning sell-by labels on most products. It's part of an effort to cut through the confusion created by nearly 50 different food date labels used across the country. New York has also approved a similar bill, now awaiting the governor's signature, while several other states are considering similar changes. Nearly a third of the food in the U.S. ends up in the trash. That's about 133 billion pounds, worth an estimated $161 billion each year. Joining us now is Dr. Tricia Pasricha, gastroenterologist at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center. Doctor, good to have you with us to talk more about this. Those sell-by and other food date labels that we see, what do they really mean? Walk us through that.
Yeah, good morning, Joe. Well, the sell-by dates were actually never intended for me and you. The sell-by dates was designed for retailers, for the grocers, and they helped indicate to them when they should rotate out the stock, because the sell-by date sort of tells us when the quality starts to become noticeably different. They weren't intended for us. What's more helpful for us is now what California has done is dichotomize the labels into just two. It's really simplified the language. The one that tells us about the quality of the product is now going to be a best if used by label or a best if frozen by label. And that's going to tell you after this date that peak quality is going to start to decline. But remember, that label is designed with a little bit of a buffer in mind. You have a couple of days by which you can probably still eat those foods. On the other hand, the use by date, that's more of a hard line about the safety of the food.
So this ban by California on the sell-by date, do you think it will make shopping a little less confusing?
I think so. I think there's two kinds of people out there. There's the kind of person that uses that sell-by date as a hard and fast rule, and then there's another kind that's like, oh, we have a couple of days here. And then, of course, these two people often find each other and get married. And, I think now we're going to eliminate a lot of those arguments first thing in the morning on weekends and at the grocery store, because it's going to be a lot more simple. When it's a use-by date, we're all on the same page. Don't use that product afterwards.
I'm the hard and fast person, so I guess I might have some concerns about this because I always feel like, oh, nope, we've hit the date. I'm throwing this out. What are some simple ways to just tell whether food is still safe to eat if you're not relying necessarily on that label?
Well, I think a lot of people use the old-fashioned sniff test, and so I think there's a couple of things you can look at that will tell you don't eat this food. One, if you see any obvious mold, discoloration, and, technically if it's something like a hard cheese and you see some mold, you could actually cut around it, leaving about a 1-inch gap. If it's a softer cheese, anything with liquid, you see mold, that's a hard stop. If it's sour, it has an unusual odor, hence the sniff test, anything off, that will tell you, what, be safe, let's not eat this.
Real quick for people who want to cut down on food waste, which is a big driver here, without putting yourself or your families at risk, what are some simple rules you can follow when it comes to storing, freezing, deciding what you keep, what you toss?
Yeah, this is important because the average U.S. consumer loses roughly about $728 per year to food waste because of confusion about the labels. A simple rule about that test, the sniff test, is that if it feels off to you, that's a good test, throw it out. If it passes the sniff test, though, you should still take it with a grain of salt, because there are some scenarios where you might not be able to appreciate that. And that's really important if you're at higher risk for things like bacterial infection. And I'm talking about pregnant women, older people. So remember, the sniff test, it's helpful when something's off. Take it with a grain of salt if it passes that test for you, though, and then still look at the labels and still decide, if I'm in high risk, let me not take the risk.
All right. Dr. Tricia Pasricha, so good to have you with us. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Coming up, a world of pure imagination and frustration. Netflix announcing a new Willy Wonka-themed reality show, complete with the AI-generated voice of the original Willy Wonka himself. My critics say the move is not the golden ticket for Hollywood. That's next on Morning News Now. We're back now with a look at how artificial intelligence is helping to turn a world of pure imagination into a new Netflix show. The Willy Wonka-themed reality series actually uses AI to recreate the voice of the late actor Gene Wilder, who played Wonka on screen in the original movie. But as NBC News Now anchor Gotti Schwartz reports, not everyone is happy about it.
Come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination.
It's a voice that instantly transports you to a world of pure imagination.
Would you like to see?
Gene Wilder brought Willy Wonka to life in the iconic 70s film Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Now Wonka is back for a reality TV reboot. Netflix releasing a trailer this week for its new competition series, Wonka's The Golden Ticket.
A whole new generation of real-life golden ticket holders will compete for a life-changing prize.
And if Wonka's voice sounds familiar, that's because it's the AI-generated voice of Wilder, who died in 2016.
Marvel at the magic you remember.
Wilder's wife and estate granted permission for his voice to be recreated for the show. That tech is provided by 11 Labs, a company that struck similar deals with actors like Michael Caine, whose AI audio likeness will be voicing an audiobook of Homer's The Odyssey.
His name is Odysseus, king of a small rocky island called Ithaca.
With Matthew McConaughey investing.
Happy Friday, everyone.
But not everyone is sweet on the idea.
Why? Just why? It just feels so wrong.
I mean, we all know Roald Dahl would have absolutely hated this.
The reality is we've been playing this game for a long, long time.
Dominic Patton is an executive editor at Deadline.
And I'm talking about holograms of Tupac at Coachella. I'm talking about Humphrey Bogart and Elizabeth Taylor showing up in Pepsi or Coca-Cola commercials like 20 years ago.
Does it seem like society has a particular hang-up when it comes to combining nostalgia with AI?
I think so. I can't stand AI slop. But I think there's a difference between AI slop and people trying to do something creative.
The danger must be growing.
Let's admit it. There is a creepy, charming aspect to AI like there is to Willy Wonka itself. So maybe in that sense, it's a perfect marriage.
Like the Oompa Loompa, Loompa-dee-doo.
Finally this hour, a different way of looking at America's birthday. If what happened 250 years ago happened today, you'd probably get an alert on your phone. Declaration of Independence, unanimously adopted. Of course, that's not how it worked back then. So what was it like when this historic document first spread across the colonies? Well, a new book titled When the Declaration of Independence Was News explores that question and why the story still matters today. We're joined now by the author, Dr. Emily Sneff. Good to have you with us. So first question, tell us what inspired you to write this book?
Thank you for having me. I've been working on the Declaration of Independence for about a decade at this point, very much knowing that the anniversary was coming. And I was really struck by this period of time when the Declaration was news, when people did not know what was going to happen next. And when we get their sort of first reactions to the news of independence, they're really fascinating.
In a world where we now get the latest news in seconds on our phones, we sometimes maybe forget about a time when news spread much more slowly. How was this essential document spread across the countries? How long did it take?
It would have taken quite some time. So I live in the greater Philadelphia area. If I was here in 1776, I would have had the news within a couple of days. But it would have taken a few more days to get up to New York, about a week and a half to get to Massachusetts, and a full month to get down to the southernmost states. And people would have learned the news through broadside printings, the text printed on one side of a big sheet of paper, as well as newspapers and public readings where people would gather in the streets to hear the Declaration read aloud.
What surprised you most about how Americans first learned about this historic document?
Well, I think you would assume that there was a lot of celebration, and there certainly was. People were cheering, giving huzzas. They were tearing down the symbols of the King and Great Britain. There was a lot of coming together around this moment. But there were also a lot of people who were upset about the Declaration or very concerned about what might happen next. My favorite account from 1776 is from a 17-year-old girl on the island of Nantucket, who wrote in her diary that the Declaration was horrible. That's not something we expect to hear from someone in 1776.
See, there's always someone who has a differing opinion from everyone else. So beyond the huzzas you mentioned, how else did people react to the 1776 news? And how did the celebrations of Independence Day back then compare with how we now celebrate today?
there were a lot of similar elements then to what we expect today. There would have been parades, cannons firing off, bells ringing, people cheering, and then, fireworks at night. So there's a lot of things that we associate with the 4th of July that go back to that initial period of time when the news was being spread. It's just in 1776, the celebrations happened over the course of a month instead of on a single night.
So as families get ready to celebrate this holiday weekend, and of course that will include fireworks like it did so long ago, what is it you hope readers will keep in mind about this 250th birthday, and what do you hope they might learn from your book as well?
Well, I hope that people will take inspiration to read the Declaration or to join one of the public readings that's happening in their communities this weekend. There's a lot in the Declaration that you might not realize is in there. And there's words that have been relatable across the generations of American history. So being able to step back in time and get that communal experience of hearing the Declaration and responding to it, I think is a great way to engage with our founding document this year.
I love how we're still doing those public readings. Real quick, how are you celebrating this weekend?
I will be sweating on Independence Mall. Looking forward to it.
And you will not be alone there. All right, Dr. Emily Sneff, good to have you with us. Thanks for joining us this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That is going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now, but don't go anywhere. The news continues right now. Good morning and happy Friday on this holiday weekend. I'm Joe Fryer. Savannah is off today. Right now on Morning News Now, home of the blaze. Mother Nature's unrelenting heat wave has nearly half the country sweating through those 4th of July celebrations. It's all causing one hot headache for the estimated 72 million Americans who are set to take to the nation's roads and skies this holiday weekend. Angie's got your full forecast, including when this seemingly endless summer simmer could start to fizzle out. President Trump has his own plans for America's big birthday bash. He's got his sights set on Mount Rushmore, slated to visit there later tonight before delivering a keynote speech on the National Mall tomorrow. But the road to 250 hasn't been smooth down in D.C. The controversies plaguing what has been billed as the biggest 4th of July celebration ever. Plus, Taylor Swift's and Travis Kelce's wildest dreams could be coming true at Madison Square Garden in just a matter of hours. We've got the inside scoop on all the festivities that we know about as the power couple pens a brand new chapter in their real-life love story. And it might be America's big birthday weekend, but later in the hour, we're going to dig into why shoppers are lining up at German-owned supermarkets to get all those barbecue fixings. Let's start this hour with the scorching heat wave that is continuing to smother the country and produce record-breaking temperatures. More than 150 million people are under heat advisories this morning. Health officials are warning people against spending too much time outside. That might be putting a damper on some of those 4th of July celebrations. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock has the latest on the heat wave from the Brooklyn Bridge Park in New York City. Sam, good morning.
Joe, good morning. I don't know what you consider to be excessively hot, but 87 degrees around 8 a.m. probably qualifies. New York, and specifically the Bronx, registered a reading of 107 degrees yesterday. We got front row seats right now, Joe. I'm at the Brooklyn Bridge Park, where there's going to be fireworks tomorrow, launched from barges on the river over my shoulder, and also the Brooklyn Bridge. So you have all of that excitement, but a heat index that is going to be pushing 110. There have been tens of thousands of power outages throughout the region, Joe. Con Ed just this morning here in New York saying they had to restore some 60,000 customer service. All of this as cities from New York to D.C. to Boston to Philly are looking at triple digits as a starting point.
24 hours until the nation celebrates a major 250th birthday blowout, but all of it taking part under a blanket of hellacious heat.
It's brutal. It's brutal.
Temperatures matching or smashing all-time highs, prompting warnings from officials and regular people.
It's 7:30 right now, and it already feels like I am dying.
In New York, the Bronx even notching one reading of 107 degrees, One woman recording this unbelievable video, leaving a shoe print in asphalt.
It is so freaking hot out right now.
The heat dome also melting records from 104 degrees in Newark, New Jersey to 102 in Washington, D.C., similar to Death Valley, California.
It radiates at you from every angle because of all the concrete, right? And so it's just like oppressive and you just can't escape it.
For those seeking escape on New York shoreline, a 9-foot shark was spotted off Long Island, forcing Hempstead lifeguards to shut down access to swimmers. New York City also trying to manage a potential strain on its power grid, with the mayor asking residents to keep their thermostats at 78. And utility company Con Ed repairing power lines and reducing voltage in the Bronx and nearby Westchester County, calling for energy conservation there too. All of it against the backdrop of not just 4th of July celebrations, but World Cup matches, with visitors in for some shocking temperatures.
I am sweating so much. It's like a heat advisory here in Atlanta. This is the dream. Air-conditioned stadiums. This is the one.
Joe, there was some history here in New York City. Central Park yesterday recording 100 degrees, which ties a record for the first time since 2012. The projections for today, 102, which could be another record with a heat index of around 110. I will say, if there's some good news in all of this, the projections for tomorrow, a mere 95 degrees. And I think at this point, we would all take any degree that's less than where we are right now.
Basically air conditioning at 95. All right, Sam Brock, thank you so much. So let's bring in Angie to talk more about just how hot it's going to be, not just in New York, but everywhere else. She's got your forecast. Angie, good morning.
I like how Sam gave you guys the bad news that once again today is going to be really oppressive. Joe, really, we're continuing to talk about the heat and the multitude of other effects that this heat dome is having on us when it comes to air quality as well as some severe storms. But let's start with the heat advisories and the heat alerts that we've got right now. A whole chunk of the country, really, you guys have been in and out of this for days now, where you see those brighter pinks and oranges, heat advisories, heat warnings, and heat watches. We are expecting some of these heat index values to be higher than 110, upwards of 115, and you can see a lot of those on the map. It's not just a small section of the country, really. We've got the whole eastern half really ending up into 100 plus for your heat index by late afternoon. Fort Wayne at 103. It'll feel like 106 in Knoxville. We've got that 102 degree temperature in New York City, ending up feeling like 110 later today. We've got 97 in Macon and feeling like 102. So uncomfortable, oppressive, another day of dangerous heat. And that continues for a lot of folks here, even as we get into the weekend. We get a bit of relief, which is, I know what everyone's looking for. Chicago, you're one of those places. By Sunday and Monday, low 80s. That's going to feel refreshing. We've got the mid to upper 80s on tap by Monday in Washington, D.C., but you've got to get through 102 on Saturday and 96 for your high on Sunday with the humidity. Still many uncomfortable days to come. Not a whole lot of relief farther south for Raleigh to Atlanta. We're still going to be into the triple digits, if not feeling like 100 to 110 plus in some of these spots. 111 on Saturday in Raleigh and Washington, D.C. for what it feels like. It'll feel like 100 degrees on Saturday in Cleveland. So again, finding some way to beat the heat is going to be your best bet. And having a kind of backup plan for indoor plans with all of these severe storms that are going to be possible. You can see that slight risk extending from the East Coast, including New York City, all the way to Chicago and out to the plains today. 75 million folks are under the potential for some of those stronger storms to develop. The hail, the wind gusts, all going to be on the table. That's something we'll watch for tomorrow, too. There's the fireworks forecast. Unfortunately, a couple of thunderstorms are going to be possible across the midsection of the country. New York, Washington, D.C., some of those spots that might have to dodge some thunderstorms. Across the west, though, clear skies. So
okay.
There you go. It's not all bad news.
Head there for your fireworks then.
Exactly.
All right. Thanks, Angie. Appreciate it. Millions of people are heading to their July 4th destinations today, filling the skies, the seas, and rails, but mostly the roads. NBC News national correspondent Aaron Gilchrist is out checking on the traffic. He joins us from Atlanta. Aaron, good morning.
Yeah, today is the federal observance of the Independence Day holiday, and that means millions of people do have this day off, and that could help folks get a head start on the long weekend travel. AAA says 72 million Americans are expected to travel this holiday weekend. That includes about 61 million people moving by car. So, a few things you may need to know. On average, right now, a gallon of gasoline is costing about 70 cents more than it did this time last year, but it is down from the peak back in May, and that's a bit of good news for you. As far as traffic goes, well, AAA warns that roads are going to start hitting that peak congestion that we hear about around noon today, and that'll go through about dinner time. So if you're able to leave before 11 o'clock this morning, that could help you save a little bit of time. And you don't want to forget to have water, to have that emergency kit in the car with you, especially with this extreme heat that we're dealing with in so many places. Now, as for more than 6 million people who are flying this holiday, prices for tickets, we know they're up about 5%. And according to the FAA, more than 51,000 planes are expected to be in the air today. We've already seen some complications. We know that JFK had a temporary ground stop in place yesterday afternoon. And really, that was just because of the extremely high volume they had to deal with at that airport. So you want to make sure you pack your patience before you head out the door to celebrate America's birthday. Back to you.
All right, Aaron, thank you. Americans around the country are gearing up for a weekend of pomp and circumstance to celebrate America's 250th birthday. President Trump is set to visit Mount Rushmore tonight to kick off the festivities before returning to Washington to deliver a speech tomorrow on the National Mall. NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez joins us with more on that. Gabe, good morning.
Hi, Joe. Good morning. As you've mentioned, it'll be another scorcher today here in the nation's capital, and that is already affecting what's being billed as the biggest 4th of July celebration ever.
With final preparations underway this morning, organizers of the Freedom 250 Salute to America are now delaying tomorrow's start time from 1 to 5 p.m. because of the expected triple-digit heat in the nation's capital. This scary moment taking place during a rehearsal, a piece of the set falling, nearly hitting some of the performers. A Freedom 250 spokesperson telling NBC News everyone is safe. President Trump saying he won't be deterred by the heat.
It's going to be approximately 107 degrees out, and I'm going to go and I'm going to make a really long speech just to show that I can do anything.
At the other end of the National Mall, fencing surrounds the reflecting pool ahead of a massive fireworks show. The landmark is back in the headlines after its recent algae bloom following a more than $14 million renovation. Former U.S. Olympic canoeist David Hearn, accused of vandalizing the pool, has now been indicted on a federal felony charge for destruction of property.
Hearn actually forcefully and violently pulling up and removing the bottom liner with both hands.
Hearn's attorney calling the allegations outrageous, insisting he's innocent. Today, President Trump is also traveling to another iconic landmark ahead of 4th of July celebrations, Mount Rushmore in South Dakota. Since his last visit 6 years ago, the president has repeatedly mused about wanting his face added to the monument, even posting this image recently.
Meanwhile, there's even more new construction underway here at the White House. Here's a new photo overlooking the South Lawn and what appears to be a new helipad being built, though administration officials won't confirm it. NBC News had previously reported the White House was considering adding a helipad to prevent Marine One helicopters from potentially burning the grass, according to two sources familiar with the matter. There have been discussions about the possible upgrade for years, Joe.
All right, Gabe, thank you. Let's get to the World Cup now, where Argentina, the defending champions, are among the teams taking to the pitch later today as the final 3 games of the round of 32 take place. Yesterday, it was Spain, Portugal, and Switzerland securing their places in the round of 16 in what was another thrilling and, yes, controversial day of action. NBC News correspondent Jesse Kirsch is at the Fan Fest in Miami with more on all the action. Jesse, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good morning. Cristiano Ronaldo and Portugal were center stage last night. I was yelling at my TV. There was that much drama, and I'm guessing I was not the only one. We saw electrifying goals, more controversy from yet another referee decision. And by the end of tonight, the round of 32 will be all wrapped up.
This morning, most of the World Cup's round of 16 locked in after another thrilling night on the pitch. Croatia scoring first against Portugal before the referee awarded a penalty, sealed with a kiss by superstar Cristiano Ronaldo, who buried it in the back of the net with some fancy footwork. Then this header giving Portugal the 2-1 lead before Croatia seemed to do the improbable. But the faintest tap on this Croatian player's head means that was offside, Portugal winning the game. Also advancing another top team, Spain, who scored not 1, not 2, but 3 goals in a dominating shutout win over Austria. A similar theme for the Swiss, who also did not miss the opportunity. Another shutout victory as Switzerland overpowered Algeria, winning the match 2-0. Now the soccer world's eyes turn to Miami. Global megastar Lionel Messi and Argentina back in action tonight. Messi looking to add to his 6 tournament goals and looking to advance to the next round in what could be the 39-year-old's last ever World Cup. To do it, he'll need to get past Vozinha, the viral sensation goalkeeper for Cape Verde, the World Cup Cinderella story. Meanwhile, as the U.S. gears up for its round of 16 game against Belgium, the debate still raging over this controversial red card. The Americans' top goal scorer, Folarin Balogun, ejected for this collision with a Bosnia and Herzegovina player.
Perhaps at worst it was reckless from Balogun, but not necessarily serious enough to then hand him a red card.
That red card means Balogun is suspended for the Belgium game on Monday. The question now, will the U.S. be able to advance without their star striker?
Okay, U.S. fans, let's take a deep breath. Joe, do it with me. All right, listen, Folarin Balogun is hardly the only one who has been scoring goals for the American squad, so do not count them out, but no question that red card is going to continue to be debated. Meanwhile, here in Miami, we are looking ahead to Cape Verde against Argentina. If Cape Verde can pull off an improbable win against a team so many expect to be the victors, that would arguably become the upset of this tournament, at least to date. And I got to tell you, Joe, when there's expectations around sport, that is when miracles can happen. So I think there are going to be a lot of people watching that game very closely tonight. Lionel Messi's World Cup career on the line every game he plays moving forward.
I feel like Jesse's trying to will something to happen here. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I don't want to get the Messi fans. I don't want the Messi fans against me, because remember, he's 39. This could be the last time we see him playing in a World Cup. No, I'm an unbiased observer. I just want a great game. That's all I could ask for.
I agree with that. All right, Jesse. Good to see you. Thanks so much. More to come here on this hour of Morning News Now, including why more Americans are choosing to throw their trust behind grocery stores from overseas to save money on their 4th of July festivities. First, though, after the break, a massive show of mourning in Iran. Alongside that shaky ceasefire deal, our Richard Engel brings us the latest from the Middle East. That is next. Welcome back. Millions of mourners are expected to come out for a week-long state funeral for the slain former supreme leader of Iran. He was killed by U.S. and Israeli strikes back in February at the start of the Iran war. NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel is in Tehran, where the casket is currently on display. Richard, good morning.
Security here in Tehran is tight as preparations are underway for a massive state funeral and procession here in Tehran for the late supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who was killed in a joint U.S.-Israeli operation on the first day of the war. The mayor of Tehran says this could be perhaps the biggest public gathering this city has ever seen. Organizers are expecting 15 to 20 million people to come to Tehran to pay their respects to the late supreme leader. Right now, his body is lying in state, being visited by dignitaries. Tomorrow, that will be open to the public. And then Monday is the big event when millions of people are expected to gather in the streets here in Tehran. And preparations are underway to make sure that they all have water, that they will have places to stay. People are being told if they arrive in the city to just leave their cars on the highways, turning them into parking lots, and to just come into Tehran by foot or on public transport. All public transport has been made free. This will be an enormous event. Some foreign dignitaries have flown in. The airport is open. Public services are functioning, water, power. So for many Iranians, and particularly for the Iranian government, this is a state funeral, but also something of a victory celebration.
All right, Richard, thank you. Let's bring in NBC News contributor, writer, journalist, and Iran expert Houman Maj. Thank you for joining us as always. Let's pick up on what Richard said. He said that while this is a state funeral, it's also somewhat of a victory celebration. What message do you think the Iranian government is trying to project over this week-long funeral?
Well, certainly, I mean, you see that in the past 4 months since the war, there's been this talk of regime change, talk of, surrender, Iran surrendering, Iran losing the war, having its nuclear program obliterated. All this talk, Iran is basically showing that there is no regime change, that the regime is powerful, that it has support. We've known all along that the hardcore support for the regime has always been between 10 and 20% of the population. Now, let's remember, Iran has 93 million people. So to get 1 million, 2 million, 5 million people out on the streets, for many people, this was the only leader they've ever known. He was the supreme leader since 1989. Their entire lives, for many people, he was the leader of Iran. And for religious people, he was also a religious leader. So there was this support for him, but the regime itself, I mean, the system wants to display its power to bring out its people, to basically say to the rest of the world, you cannot defeat us. And I think with that kind of crowd, that's a message that, will be heard around the world. There'll be people who will say there are people who are being forced to go to this funeral, forced to go to the ceremony. And there's some element of that, yes, but there can be no denying that there is actual real support for this regime. And that means that if there's another war, or if the war starts again, you've got this to face. And I think that's what Iran is trying to send, that it is still a united country in the face of war.
Let's talk about the peace deal. The latest rounds of indirect talks between the U.S. and Iran wrapped up earlier this week in Doha. Those talks further strained by the recent flare-up and attacks we've seen between both sides. Has much progress actually been made since that memorandum of understanding was signed?
Well, there's been progress in the sense that some ships have gotten out of the Strait of Hormuz, but not a tremendous amount of progress. No, there's still lots and lots of ships stuck in the strait. The U.S. has escorted some through the Oman side, which Iran says is not okay, that all ships have to go through the Iranian side of the strait. And they claim that that's what the memorandum showed. They claim that the memorandum gave them the right to have access to their funds, frozen funds. Their $6 billion, for example, is stuck in banks in Qatar, which hasn't been released. So there's things. Progress is slow. It's not like there is zero progress, but it is certainly slow. And then you've got the Lebanon side, which Iran claims there's supposed to be a ceasefire, and yet Israel is still firing in Lebanon. So how much control the U.S. has over Lebanon is a big question, of course. But there is some progress, but not as much as President Trump has indicated in saying, oh, yeah, they've given us pretty much everything we asked for. That's really not true at this point.
Houman Maj, good to have you with us this morning. Thank you as always. In Albania, violent anti-government protests have now broken out in the streets. The demonstration started after the prime minister greenlit a plan backed by members of the Trump family to transform protected shorelines into luxury real estate. Since then, though, the protests have grown into a larger movement. NBC's Molly Hunter has more.
Thousands of protesters in Albania clashing with police in large and violent demonstrations. Rocks, eggs, and plastic bottles being hurled, police responding with tear gas, pepper spray, and even a water cannon. The protests have been dubbed the Flamingo Revolution, now a rallying cry against the political elite. Triggered about a month ago by a luxury real estate development plan backed by President Trump's daughter Ivanka and her husband Jared Kushner.
The reason I'm here is because of the project investment that is going to take place in Zvernets, Laura, which is going to be financed by Jared Kushner and Trump.
The government, supportive of the plan, facing huge backlash after it greenlit the proposal to build high-end hotels, apartments, villas, and resorts on a wildlife reserve and a currently uninhabited island in Albania.
We were on a friend's boat,
and we stopped for a swim. Effectively, that's how we found it. We swam to the islands. We went on a hike, barefoot all the way up to the top, and we were just captivated.
But the outcry from protesters centers on the environmental impact and concerns over the animals that inhabit the Adriatic coast.
We want transparency. We want to protect our nature.
As the demonstrations have grown, so has their message. Protesters now calling for the Prime Minister to step down.
That was just a spark that ignited the fire that started this massive protest.
We are here to protect Albania from the most corrupted government in Europe. Not in only Europe, but all over the world.
The Prime Minister, a former professional basketball player, writing on social media, the beautiful protest of citizenship, patriotism, and cleanliness has now given way to the old film of conflict, quarrel, violence. The government argues the development could transform the former communist nation as it continues its decade-long push to gain EU membership. But a member of the EU Parliament says Albania is, quote, playing with fire by pursuing this real estate deal and could throw its EU application in jeopardy. For now, the Prime Minister remains defiant. NBC News reached out to Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump for comment on the demonstrations and didn't immediately hear back. This week, police putting up metal fences to secure the parliament and the Capitol. Protesters, though, vow they will continue filling the streets until their demands are met. Molly Hunter, NBC News.
Coming up, for many Americans, when they think 4th of July, they probably think barbecues. But after the break, we're digging into a shift in where shoppers get their grub. Here's a hint: they're maybe not flocking to American-owned grocery stores. We'll explain next. We're back now with more on the preps for the country's upcoming birthday bash. As consumers flock to grocery stores to get ready for this weekend's barbecues, chances are many Americans might be heading to a German-owned supermarket. A recent Morning Consult report found that Aldi is now the most trusted grocery store in the U.S. NBC News business reporter Ali Canal has more on why some shoppers just can't get enough of these German brands.
Hundreds of people lining up in New York, not for a concert or SNL tickets or even a sneaker drop, but for the grand opening of Midtown Manhattan's first Aldi. Sure, they were giving away some goodies, but the uber popular German affordable grocery store chain is taking the United States by storm.
Oh, I love it. Everything is so cheap in there.
Already with more than 2,500 stores nationwide, the company plans to add over 500 more by 2028.
When you hear that Aldi's is planning to open up hundreds of more stores, what goes through your head?
It's a great idea.
The pitch, lower prices. It seems to be resonating with many Americans hungry for value. Aldi just announced a $9 billion investment in the U.S. market, telling NBC News the, quote, combination of value, simplicity, and innovation is driving tremendous demand, reporting 17 million new customers last year.
And have you felt affordability pressures when you go to the grocery store these days?
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes you buy like 5 things and you're like, why is this $100?
Recent data shows American shoppers are increasingly cutting costs by comparing prices at grocery stores, buying generic food brands, and using coupons. Behaviors that fit Aldi's model and its German competitor Lidl. A recent Consumer Report study found prices at Aldi and Lidl are, on average, around 8.5% lower than Walmart's nationwide. The only stores that scored better? Costco and BJ's, which require a membership and sell most items in bulk.
I think it's great to have another option because I usually shop at like Whole Foods and that's really expensive.
So how do they do it? For starters, most of Aldi's products sport its own store brands, avoiding name brand markups. Trader Joe's uses a similar approach and is also owned by Aldi. Plus, the stores themselves are built to keep costs down. They're smaller and operate with fewer employees. Shoppers bag their own groceries and often pull items straight from shipping boxes rather than stock shelves.
I don't mind that up because it's saving me money.
Lidl, which has a similar business model, hasn't quite made the same splash. It arrived in the U.S. with ambitious expansion plans back in 2017. But nearly a decade later, Lidl has just 185 stores nationwide. Both chains face stiff competition in the ultra-low margin grocery business, especially from national giants like Walmart, Amazon Whole Foods, and Target, along with regional names like Kroger's and Publix. But in the battle for Americans' grocery dollars these days,
Arriba, Aldi.
price may be the biggest advantage of all. Allie Canal, NBC News.
Coming up, a centerpiece of American history now on display right here in New York City. When Morning News Now returns, the fascinating story behind this copy of the Declaration of Independence and the founding father who personally brought visions of freedom to life, all by hand. That's next. Attention will turn to the nation's capital, where that massive fireworks display is set to take place. Nearly 850,000 fireworks are expected to pop off on Saturday for what organizers say will be the biggest display ever. NBC's Gary Grumbach got the chance to visit the family-owned business, making it all possible.
You've probably seen the Macy's Fireworks Spectacular around New York City and the colorful displays lighting up the Philadelphia skyline. But you've never seen something like this. On the 4th of July, the world's largest fireworks display will fill the skies of the nation's capital. But before it gets up there, it starts here, in this warehouse and that shack in Newcastle, Pennsylvania, a fifth-generation family-owned fireworks company. Talk to me about how this all came to be in 1889.
Well, at its core, it's about the American dream. Our business...
Stephen Vitale is the CEO of Pyrotechnico, a business started by his great-grandfather in a small Italian town before he brought his expertise to America.
If he would see the company today, he would probably be incredibly proud, but probably think we were a little crazy.
That crazy has paid off. Pyrotechnico produces more than 4,000 fireworks and light shows a year that include some of the biggest stages, from Cardi B's most recent tour to Super Bowl 59 and even Coachella. But producing a show with 850,000 fireworks?
It's a monster. It is probably, at least 100 times more than an average 4th of July display that you would see.
And potentially breaking the Guinness World Record for largest firework display ever. Dozens of workers, many of them close family and friends of the Vitale clan, are carefully planning and painstakingly ensuring the fireworks are ready to spark joy. Clocking in at more than 40 minutes long, the show took months for Jason Farrell and his team to design. When you first got word that you'd be involved in planning the world's largest fireworks show, what was your reaction?
Here we go.
Farrell traveled the world, from Spain to China, looking for just the right fireworks.
Each country kind of has their own take on how they create fireworks, so everybody has kind of a specialty of what they do.
Show me a little bit of what the show's going to look like.
Yeah, so all the way down along the reflecting pool, we've got West Potomac Park, and we've got all the barges, and each of those yellow dots is a separate firing position.
Finale goes off, the job is done. How are you going to feel?
Hearing the applause at the end is always the best part of what I do.
There's something about the feeling and the honor of doing a fireworks display on the 4th of July in Washington, D.C. I mean, it's Independence Day at its best.
Gary Grumbach, NBC News, Newcastle, Pennsylvania.
Back here in New York City, a rare piece of history is being put on display for everyone to see this holiday weekend. A handwritten copy of the Declaration of Independence can now be found at the New York Public Library in Manhattan. NBC's Laura Jarrett got up close to take a look at one of the most important documents in American history. Laura, good morning.
Hey there. This remarkable copy of the Declaration of Independence has actually been in the library's collection since 1896, but it's something so rare, so fragile, they almost never bring it out. Now, it's the centerpiece of the library's exhibit for America's big birthday, giving the public a special chance to see history firsthand. It's a document so precious, it's kept under dim lighting to protect the ink from fading.
Wow, this is it. This is our fair copy of the Declaration of Independence.
A draft of our nation's founding document, now on display at the New York Public Library, as America marks 250 years since it was signed.
These things are so rare, they're so special, and we want people to study them.
This copy of the Declaration of Independence, one of only 4 in the world, written in Thomas Jefferson's own hand.
I've seen lots of Jefferson's writing. It's not always so neat, but he knew we'd be here reading this today. Welcome to the treasures of the New York Public Library.
Julie Golia, the library's curator of manuscripts, says this extraordinary piece of history gives visitors a rare chance to reflect on America's founding ideals.
I want them to see a living document, a document not made by gods, made by humans, a document that's up for remarkable interpretation, ideas that are so powerful and revelatory that we keep coming back to them today.
Jefferson's so-called fair copies only sent to a small group of friends to preserve his original language for future generations.
One of the major passages that was taken out was a very forceful condemnation of the slave trade by a man who was born into a slave society.
But yet, at the time, even back then, he sought to condemn it.
He hated slavery, and yet he could not extricate himself from it.
That passage removed before the Second Continental Congress approved the final declaration, helping maintain the support of Southern delegates. It's just one aspect visitors are taking away from seeing history up close.
What has the response been?
I think our visitors have an incredible sense of the import of this anniversary. We are a home for debate and thought and posing questions and debating answers and disagreeing civilly. It's the bedrock of our country.
The manuscript is the crown jewel of the Independence Day exhibit.
We have the stuff from 1776, but
And library president Tony Mark says it's a reminder that America's story is still being written.
What do you think seeing this draft of the Declaration of Independence will do for people?
I think seeing the Declaration in its original handwritten version will remind us of how powerful American history has been. The ideals that are in that Declaration are really breathtaking, unprecedented in human history.
The exhibit, already so popular, the first waves of tickets quickly sold out.
Does that surprise you? It's sold out. People are lining up to see the Declaration of Independence in 2026.
It's spine-tingling. It's a connection to history.
But the story of our founding goes beyond just one famed document.
This is the closest I think I've ever gotten to the Bill of Rights.
To celebrate America's birthday, the library also displaying a number of other treasures, including an olive branch petition sent in a last-ditch effort to avoid the Revolutionary War, maps from the battle for New York, and hundreds more works connecting the nation's founding to the present. Here, history isn't just something you can read, it's something you can actually taste. The library even partnering with a local brewery to recreate Liberty Lager, a modern twist on George Washington's beer recipe from 1757.
I couldn't leave without tasting your interpretation of George Washington's finest.
Let's give it a shot.
Oh, that's good.
Happy birthday, USA. Cheers.
This copy of the Declaration of Independence will actually be on display until July 7th, when it goes back into darkness of the archives again. Tickets are free if you're lucky enough to get one. Back to you.
All right, Laura, thank you. And as we celebrate 250 years of independence, we're also celebrating some great Americans. NBC Nightly News anchor Tom Yamas introduces us to Eileen Collins, the astronaut who made history as the first woman to pilot a space shuttle mission. The path to get there was not easy, but ultimately, her dream took flight.
Long before legendary astronaut Eileen Collins became the first woman to command a space shuttle,
the cabin pressure is dropping.
She dreamed of taking flight. Watching gliders take off and land at this airfield near her hometown of Elmira, New York.
And I always wondered what it would be like up there.
But she kept those sky-high goals to herself.
I never told anyone that I wanted to be an astronaut because I knew they would say, you can't do that. You're a girl. There's no women astronauts.
Collins was determined, though. She followed the blueprint of the first male astronauts who started out as daring test pilots in the Air Force. It took a decade of service in uniform, thousands of hours in the cockpit, finally a call from NASA. Collins was not just going to be an astronaut, but a pilot, and eventually a commander.
I'm proud to be here to congratulate Colonel Eileen Collins on becoming the first woman to command a space shuttle mission.
She flew multiple missions. Then in 2005, her biggest test yet, commanding America's return to space after the Columbia disaster took the lives of 7 fellow astronauts.
And why should we keep flying this spacecraft that is so dangerous, is what some people thought. One of the things I learned, do not run away from your problems. Face problems as challenges.
RPM start in 2, 1.
During the high-stakes mission, she pulled off this bold move, a backflip in space, and a critical safety check of the heat shield to make sure the shuttle could safely return.
We did something that hadn't been done before and made the program safer, but also it made the flying a little more fun.
A woman who put her stamp on space by changing the spaces she was in.
When you think about the American spirit, I think that we are explorers. And I think people that live in this country are descendants of explorers. And maybe that spirit is passed on.
It's my hope that all children, boys and girls, will see this mission and be inspired to reach for their dreams too, because dreams do come true.
Our thanks to Tom for that story. Coming up, we have finally made it to Friday here on Morning News Now. That can mean only one thing. When we come back, we're punching your ticket to the latest and greatest from the world of Hollywood. Everything you simply can't miss this holiday weekend next. Stay with us. Finally, this hour, it's Friday, which means it's time for your weekly can't miss list to look at all the movies, shows, and songs you need to see and hear this holiday weekend. Here to help us is entertainment journalist, pop culture expert, and friend of the show, Brian Balthazar. Brian, good to have you with us. Let's start in theaters. Big one for the family, and that is Minions and Monsters. It takes the little yellow creatures back to 1920s Hollywood. What should we know about this one?
Right. Well, if they look like big, noisy Tic Tacs, that's not a coincidence. Tic Tacs were actually the inspiration for the shape of these creatures. This is how they became Hollywood superstars, unleashed monsters upon the planet, and how they ended up saving the world. This franchise, by the way, the Despicable Me and Minions franchise, has garnered over $5 billion around the world. So this is obviously a very successful franchise, really family friendly. The language, Minionese, or what they call it, is a mashup of English, Spanish, French, Italian, Japanese, and complete nonsense. Many of those voices voiced by co-director and actor Pierre Coffin, voice actor. Yeah, so it's a fun story. It's fun. It's good, clean fun that I can understand.
Emphasis on the nonsense, I think. I think that's the perhaps.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You can't understand a word they're saying, but still, yet it's entertaining.
And you feel like you do. All right. On the opposite end of that, we've got Young Washington, appropriate as we celebrate America's 250th. This is hitting theaters. We actually had the director, John Irwin, here on the show last month. He talked about how the movie is also an important civics lesson, really trying to push that, bring civics back into the classroom. But as far as the movie goes, what are we hearing about it?
It is a 22-year-old George Washington. So this is before he became president at 57. So we're seeing the young soldier during the French and Indian War kind of learning and making some mistakes. Interestingly, I think it's an interesting approach to say, maybe attract older history buffs and perhaps having a young, good-looking George Washington, you attract some younger viewers as well. So we'll see how this does. But at the end of the credits, at least of the critic screening, Kelsey Grammer asks the audience to help make it #1 at the box office, which is an interesting approach. I'm not sure asking helps, especially if you're at the end of the credits, you've already seen it. But it's an interesting little tidbit we're learning about this film.
Interesting, especially when we're learning about when you're up against Minions and Monsters. It's a tall order. Well, we're talking about the 4th.
You're going to get what you're going to get this weekend.
We're talking about the 4th of July. We should talk about where you can watch the fireworks. Where can you watch them?
Where else? NBC and Peacock, of course. Saturday night started performances from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., but also an encore performance on NBC again. And obviously, this is a big one. So you can expect what are already spectacular fireworks to be probably even more so. Some great musical performances leading up to it as well.
Then you can switch over to streaming. We got season 3 of the sci-fi show Silo on Apple, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Is that right?
Right. And in fact, they actually had season 3 and season 4 renewed simultaneously because the storyline was already plotted out. This is about what's left of humanity living in an underground silo as the world is contaminated. And it is compelling. Rebecca Ferguson is not only a star, but an executive producer. I highly recommend watching the first 2 seasons, though. If it's too hot outside and you want something to watch, why don't you try seasons 1 and 2 of Silo so that you can really, really follow and understand this really compelling sci-fi series. Incidentally, based on a novel that the author published independently on Amazon Kindle's program himself before it became a huge phenomenon and then became published in the traditional sense.
Wow, that worked out well for them. All right. Netflix has a prequel to Legally Blonde because everything gets a prequel nowadays. This one is called Elle. How does it fit into the story we all know and love?
So our young Elle, who is just an amazing Lexi Mindtree, she is a young girl whose family is moving her to Seattle. And as you can see, and this is Seattle at the time, but during flannel and grunge. And so this is kind of her formative years. Lexi Mindtree's audition tape recently went viral. And you can see from this audition tape that she submitted why exactly she got this role, because she is just charming, adorable. And so far, initial reactions have been really, really positive. But it's always tough to do a prequel to a beloved film, or any film really, just to do more of that story.
Just a few seconds left, but we need some music for the holiday weekend. Madonna, Confessions 2, what should we know?
It's already on the charts, obviously. When you're an artist like Madonna, you chart because you release something. Obviously, an incredible album. We've seen some releases that include collaborations with Sabrina Carpenter, and now you can listen to it right now. You can buy it where you get your music, and it's going to be, of course, a number of visual elements. There's one right at the end of the album, but expect a lot of videos from Madonna, including a star-studded one that we heard a lot of buzz in the past. Definitely check this out. An iconic pop star proving that she's still got it.
I'll be listening right after the show. Brian Balthazar, good to see you. Have a great holiday weekend. Appreciate it. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now. Stay with us. The news continues right now.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.